Hello, everyone. Welcome to my boudoir. Hope you like the exotic lighting. Well, I want to file a report on a movie that I just saw again for the first time in over 2 decades, and that movie is called Murder by Numbers. Um, it was released in 2002. I thought initially it was a little bit earlier than that, but I was wrong. Um, if it had been earlier, then I would have wondered if it even predated Columbine. And if it had predated Columbine, I would think that's pretty wild. But it does not predate Columbine. Um, and I think that the characters in the movie, the interesting characters, because there's two movies here. There's the part of the movie that involves two young men, two high school boys who decide to become murderers, and they're basically modeled after the Leopold and Loeb murders, which were who were also most famously uh, depicted in Alfred Hitchcock's film Rope. Um, but basically, these were two men who were homosexual lovers, and they decided they were going to go on a killing spree. They were going to kill some people just to to prove that they were free, to because they didn't believe in morality, and it would be just the ultimate way of expressing their existential freedom. So they were they were very intellectual psychopaths, Leopold and Loeb. Um, so this movie, uh, again, the interesting part of the movie, or the part of the movie that's more interesting, I think, by a long shot, is the part that features the two kids. One of whom is a young Ryan Gosling. I don't know if this is the first movie that he was ever really in. This was not that long before The Notebook. But he looks significantly younger here than I remember him looking in The Notebook. I actually saw The Notebook. I wouldn't see it again, but I saw it way back in the day. And the other one is Matthew Pitt, who it's no relation to the other Pitt, and he's sort of faded from the scene. He was once sort of threatening to be like an A-lister, coming up on the A-list, and then since then he's kind of faded a little. But in any case, they're the Leopold and Loeb stand-ins, but they're also it's impossible to watch this movie and not think of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, the Columbine shooters. Um, and I think that's the more actually the more substantial uh, influence here for whoever wrote this uh, is the Columbine murderers, because you can't really watch this movie and not think about them. And there were also a couple of movies based on Columbine around this time. One was called Elephant by Gus Van Sant. The other one that is much better and that I do recommend is called Zero Day, but I think it's a lot harder to find. But anyway, all of those movies kind of explore the dynamic between, and this movie too, in its more interesting parts, it explores the dynamic between these two boys. Ryan Gosling is a very cocky, arrogant. He's very much doing a James Dean impression here. Like he even like takes out a cigarette and holds it the way that James Dean does, and he's sort of uh, he's got the James Dean-esque swagger. Um, but the other of the two is the more intellectual one, and he's kind of, even though it's another one of those movies where they want us to think, that a really good looking kid, they just make him wear glasses and sort of act a little uh, socially awkward, and somehow we are supposed to think that he's, a nerd or an outcast or something like that. It's a little annoying, but nevertheless, I do think that uh, the part of the movie that focuses on these two kids, these two boys, who decide to commit a murder for Leopold and Loeb-esque reasons, to express their existential freedom, and so forth. Um, that's by far the more interesting movie. The less interesting aspect of this movie is Sandra Bullock is a female cop, uh, who's got this history of trauma, and um, is very damaged psychologically, but also smart, and she figures out what's really going on. She sees through the facade that these kids play, because they have this whole elaborate way of their whole scheme is to play it off and to put the blame on someone else. Uh, but she is able to see through all of that, and it's just sort of I don't know, the procedural side of this movie is far less interesting, and I have to say that when I saw this in 2002, I thought it was a lot better, but uh, its flaws are much more apparent to me now, 22 years later. It doesn't. It's not that riveting. Now, there are still aspects of the movie that are interesting, um, but none of them involve Sandra Bullock, and her character and her assistant, who has this sort of this tumultuous relationship with her. Will they or won't they kind of thing. She comes on to him, but then she also insults him, and and so forth and so on. It's kind of, it's a little by the numbers. Um, hey, not meant to be a clever reference to the title of the movie, but there you go. It's kind of by the numbers. The movie's called Murder by Numbers. The song by The Police that you might know, called Murder by Numbers, which is on their Synchronicity album. Synchronicity, interesting. Um, but anyway, there's no reference to that song, and the song is not on the soundtrack. So I don't really know. I don't really even know why the why that's the title of the movie. And this is just striking me now. Um, there's no there's nothing really about numbers, so the title is just uh, they don't, and there's not like a large number of killings that they engage in. So really just one. Someone else, another person is put to death by one of them afterwards, but that's sort of that's another. Uh, that's not really related to the main plot. But anyway, it doesn't really make much sense that the title is Murder by Numbers. I'll just say. Um, I'm realizing that now. I'm realizing that this movie is not really that special, and it's kind of a shame, just because I had it in my mind. I was remembering it as a movie that I enjoyed from way back when, and I thought it would be something interesting to watch again and say, "Ha! I've unearthed this hidden gem," because this is not a movie you really hear very much about. It had Ryan Gosling in it. Um, It has Sandra Bullock in it, and by the way, this movie sparked a. I found out that it sparked a romance between those two, even though the one was much younger than the other. But you can see it in their scenes together. There's definitely some sexual tension there. Anyway, anyway, um, I think the most interesting thing regarding the first of all, the most interesting thing about the movie is uh, the two young leads, the killers. Uh, and I wish the movie had just been exclusively about them and not about the police, not about the Sandra Bullock stuff. I think it would have been a lot better, a lot more, uh, I don't know, a lot less by the book, a lot less sort of cliched. Just another, jury police procedural, like so many others. I think it would have been more interesting, and I was thinking of this movie, in the same way that I was thinking about The Minus Man, the Owen Wilson movie from the late '90s that I watched, and that's and I reviewed like a few months ago on this channel. That movie really is a hidden gem. And I was thinking this would be another movie like that from the same general era, but really this one is not nearly as good. But so I don't really even know that I recommend it. But I do think that it's there was a chance of it being a good movie. There's a good movie somewhere in there, but it's just not the one that they made. So, unfortunate, but what can you do? You life goes on. But anyway, those are my thoughts about the movie Murder by Numbers. Have you seen this movie? What do y'all think? Let me know.